So in module 4 we have started about the microwave hybrid circuits. What do you mean by a microwave hybrid circuit? And we have stated some of the name of some T-junctions, and we have understood that we need a new form of characterization for representing our microwave junction. We have seen what you mean by scattering coefficients, and S matrix is the one which is required to characterize our microwave circuits. So in this lecture we are going to see in detail about a concept of a microwave T-junction. In detail we are going to learn about a E-plane T, its concept, and the formulation of S matrix for a E-plane T. So we are learning about the different type of microwave hybrid circuits. First section we have stated some examples of waveguide Ts. So first of all we will now understand what do you mean by a waveguide T, or what is the need of waveguide T in microwave technologies, and then we will go on to study about its examples and properties. So the waveguide junctions are used in microwave technologies when power in a waveguide needs to be split or some extracted. Obviously you can imagine in whichever application we are using, there may be a need of say extracting a particular input signal or splitting of a signal. So in such cases we require waveguide junctions in case of microwave technologies. So there are a different number of waveguide junctions which can be used. So the properties of each of these waveguide junctions will be different. So depending upon the type of application which we are intending to apply, we can select the type of waveguide T which is to be employed. That is what is written here. Each type have different properties. The different types of waveguide junction affect the energy contained within the waveguide in different ways. So depending upon the property, that is the phase property may be different for different waveguide Ts. So depending upon our application we can choose it. So when selecting a waveguide junction, it balances between the performance and cost need to be made, and therefore an understanding of different types of waveguide junction is useful. So only if we know the different types of waveguide Ts which are available, okay, its structure and its properties, then only we can come to a conclusion as to which waveguide T will be useful for one particular application. So this is what the need for waveguide Ts are. Now we are going to define what is a waveguide T. A waveguide T is formed when three waveguides are interconnected in the form of English alphabet T, and thus waveguide T is a three-port junction. So we are having here three ports, that is by interconnecting of three waveguides in the form of English alphabet T. Since it is interconnected in the form of the letter T only, we are calling it as a waveguide T. Okay, so the waveguide T's are used to connect a branch or a section of the waveguide in series or parallel with the main waveguide transmission line, either for splitting or combining the power in a waveguide system. That is, all these waveguide T's are employed mainly for two reasons. Either we have to split power or we have to combine power. So what we do is that we use this waveguide T, how we connect it either in series or in parallel with the main waveguide. Okay, so that is how waveguide T is being connected. And the application is for splitting or combining of the power in a waveguide system. So a T junction, we are having three independent ports. Okay, there are three independent ports, and we know that we are interconnecting a port actually in parallel or series with the main waveguide. A waveguide or a coaxial line junction with three independent ports. So when we are having three independent ports, we can guess that the S matrix will be how? It will be a matrix of third order which contains the 9 elements, 6 of which should be independent. So in the first section, I have already explained what do you mean by the scattering, that is the S matrix. We are going to have a logical characterization for our T junction with the help of a S matrix. So the property of S matrix is explained here. Since we are having 3 independent ports, it will be a matrix of third order which contains the 9 elements. And we know that 6 of the elements in that particular matrix will be independent. Now there are some characteristics of such a 3-port junction which can be explained by the 3 theorems of the T junction. Now how these characteristics are stated is from the equivalent circuit representation of the T junction. So now we will see what are the characteristics of such a 3-port junction. So these are the 3 statements. First one, a short circuit may always be placed in one of the arms of a 3-port junction in such a way that no power can be transferred through the other 2 arms. So we are having basically 3 arms, and if we are placing a short circuit, say in one of the arms of the 3-port junction, there is no chance of the power transfer to the other 2 arms. So it is possible for a short circuit. And second thing, if a junction is symmetric about one of its arm, a short circuit can always be placed in that arm so that no reflections occur in the power transmission between the other 2 arms. So what do you mean by this? So we are having to insert, say, one particular port. Okay, suppose we are inserting it in between the 2 ports, and we are inserting in such a way that it is symmetric about the other 2 arms. Okay, so there will be no reflection in the power transmission between the other arms. So we are inserting in such a manner that the other arms are having matched impedance. Okay, so if we are having, say, 2 arms, they may be having matched impedances, and we are inserting another arm symmetrical to it. Okay, so a short circuit can be placed in that particular arm, and since it is a matched impedance, there will be no further reflection occurring between the other arms. That is what is explained in the second point. Now the third point, it is impossible for a general 3-port junction of arbitrary symmetry to present matched impedance at all 3 arms. So suppose we are having, say, 2 arms and we are inserting one particular arm, and we are having obviously arbitrary symmetry for a T junction, but it is impossible to have matched impedances at all the 3 arms. We can have matched impedance, say, at 2 arms. Okay, so suppose we are having 2 arms of matched impedance and we are inserting another port, then there will be no say reflection between the arms which is having matched impedance, but it is impossible to have such a matched impedance at all the 3 ports. Okay, so that is the third point. So remember all these 3 points for understanding the examples of T junctions further. So first now we will see about a E-plane T. E-plane T is a series junction which is symmetrical about the central arm. Okay, so this now we are having here 3 independent ports. Okay, this is a port 1, port 2, which are the collinear arms. Why are they called as collinear arms? Because as you can observe from the figure, this port 1 and port 2, they are at the same plane. Okay, so there are 2 collinear arms. Okay, port 1 and port 2, to which we attach this port 3. So this is the side arm which is not at the same plane as that of port 1 and port 2. So from this figure, we understand how is a E-plane T constructed. That is, along the broader dimension of the waveguide, we are attaching a side arm. It is written here, a rectangular slot is cut along the broader dimension of the waveguide. So this is the broader dimension of the waveguide, and a side arm is attached as shown. It is also called as a 3 dB splitter, because whatever power we are applying here, say at port 3, we observe that we get it equally at port 1 and port 2. That is why it is also called as a 3 dB splitter. And why is the name indicated as E-plane T? Because here the axis of the side arm is parallel to the electric field of the main waveguide. So if the electric field distribution of the main waveguide as shown here is such, the axis of the side arm, that is the port 3, also the electric field distribution will be parallel. So the electric field distribution will be parallel with respect to that of the main waveguide. That is why it is called as a E-plane T. Now, if the collinear arms, that is here port 1 and port 2 are collinear arms, they are having symmetrical about the side arm. If there is no problem of impedance mismatch, then there will be no reflections. Okay, so these are the diagram representations of the two-way transmission of E-plane T. First case, the input is fed from the input main arm. So from here, the port 1 we are feeding the input, and in the second case, the input is fed from the side arm. Okay, so what we observe from this characteristics, always when we are feeding the input, say we are feeding from port 3, then the output which is appearing from port 1 and port 2, they will be having same magnitude, but they will be out of phase. Okay. Similarly, if you are applying say the input from the collinear arm, say port 1 also, the output they will be out of phase. Okay. So when we want to say split a particular signal, so we can use a E-plane T. That is what we understand from the transmission characteristics of a E-plane T. The output God will be equal in magnitude, but it will be out of phase. Now, from the construction of E-plane T, we have seen that if we are placing a third port symmetrical with respect to that of the two collinear ports, okay, and there is matched impedance, there will be no reflection. So, the diagonal components of the S matrix S11, S22 and S33 will be 0 because there is no reflection. So, that is the first point which is written here. And we have also seen from the diagrammatic representation that when we are applying say a input from the port 3, that is our side port, the waves which are appearing at port 1 and 2, there will be of opposite phase and in same magnitude. That is, if we apply a input from the port 3, that is our side port, what we observe at port 1 and port 2, we get equal magnitude signals, but they are 180-degree phase shift with each other. So how can we write the S matrix? S13 will be equal to minus of S23. That is 180-degree phase shift. So both will be having opposite sign. Either S23 may be negative or S13 may be negative. That is what we imply by this equation. So the output of the E-plane T will always be the difference of the input signals. So that is why the side arm of the E-plane T is also called as a difference arm. So it is because of the property or the output from the E-plane T, the side arm is also indicated as a difference arm. Now we are going to calculate the scattering matrix for our E-plane T. So by now we are familiar with some properties of the E-plane T. So using those properties we can formulate the S matrix now. So first the output at the port 1 and 2 are out of phase, that is 180-degree out of phase with the input applied at port 3. So the scattering coefficients S13 and S23 must be out of phase. So this equation we have already written before, that is S23 and S13, they will be out of phase, 180-degree out of phase with each other. So if one is positive, the other will be negative. So let this be our first equation. Okay. Then from the symmetry property of the S matrix, Sij will be equal to Sji. That is, initially we have seen some properties of the S matrix. So using those property and the property of E-plane T only, we are formulating the S matrix. So by the symmetry property, S12 is the same as that of S21, S13 is the same as that of S31, S23 is the same as that of S32, etc. And because of the first equation, we can write S32 to be equal to minus of S13. Okay. And next property, we are having the third port is matched to the junction. So we are inserting the port 3 in such a manner that it is perfectly matched, there is no impedance mismatch and there is no reflection. Okay, so S33 can be considered as 0. Okay, so using these properties we can proceed further. So when we are writing the S matrix now using the values of obtained in 1, 2 and 3, the S matrix becomes as shown in the equation number 4. Okay, so now to proceed further, we employ the unitary property of our S matrix, that is S into S conjugate star is equal to the identity matrix I. So every time if we apply this unitary property of S only, we can formulate the S matrix for the T junction further. So now we consider the unitary property, that is our modified S matrix in multiplied by the conjugate of this S matrix will be giving the identity matrix. So this is how we proceed. Now continuing to multiplying using the identity matrix of S, R1 C1, R2 C2, R3 C3 and also we consider R3 C1, we get the such equations. Okay, so from this we are going to formulate the S matrix. Now observe equation 5 and 6, what we understand. Since the other terms are equal, we can equate S11 to be equal to S22. So just observe equation 5 and 6. We can assume that S11 will be equal to S22. That is the 9th equation. Consider equation 7, what we get? S13 value to be equal to 1 by root 2. That is the 10th equation. Now consider equation number 8. What we get? S13 into S11 conjugate minus S12 conjugate is equal to 0. Okay, so S13 cannot be equal to 0. So we can consider this particular term. So it turns S11 will be equal to S12. Okay, so we have already written S11 to be equal to S22. So all these matrices of the S will be equal. All these elemental values in S matrix, S11 will be equal to S22 will be equal to S12. So if we find out one, we can know the value of the other two. Now when we are using these equations, that is equation 9, equation 10 and equation 11, in equation number 5, that is we consider this first equation and employ these relation. So what we get? S11 the whole square plus instead of S12 it can be also written as S11. So S11 the whole square plus S13 we got it as 1 by root 2. So that 1 by root 2 the whole square is equal to 1. So we get the value of S11. And if we get the value of S11, we will get the value of S22 and S12 to be also equal to that of 1 by 2. Okay, so S11 we get it as 1 by 2. Similarly, S12 and S22 will also be equal to 1 by 2. So by now, by using the property of E-plane T and from the property of S matrix, we have got all the elemental values for the S matrix. So finally, by combining all this, I can write the S matrix of E-plane T. So this is obtained how? By first of all understanding the property of E-plane T and remembering the properties of S matrix. Okay, that is we have mainly employed the unitary property of the S matrix and obtained finally the S matrix for a E-plane T. So in this lecture we have understood what is the concept and the need of a waveguide T junction. Okay, and what do you mean by a E-plane T? Its construction, its properties. Okay, why it is called as a E-plane T, and we have finally formulated the S matrix for a E-plane T. So in the next section we will be seeing about H-plane T.